Okay, so let's begin. It's Loretta West, certified Zentangle teacher, soul collage facilitator, and all-around art gal on this snowy February already, the 1st of February morning. And today we're going to concentrate on fragments, which are little tiny Zentangle patterns. And similar to sort of what you see down here, I did this card about a year ago when I thought things were going to be ending soon to steer the course. And this morning I was thinking about it because, I don't know, sometime this summer we were at a place picking up parts and there was a fellow helping us, and he was a burly guy and he had tattoos of words on his fingers, and I couldn't figure out what it said because it was upside down to me. So I sat there for a long time as he held his hands like this, and they were along this part of his fingers. And there were hold was one, and fast, hold fast. And I thought about that this morning as we continue on with this current state of affairs that we're in, to hold fast and stay mighty, to stick to your trail, your plan, even though it looks like the trail divides sometimes, but just sort of to stay on course with whatever holds you to your course. So that being said, then this is also the first day of Zentangle. So if you're not familiar, that is prompts, daily prompts throughout, I think it's all of February, or is it to the 14th? I can't remember, but daily prompts that help you to continue your practice. And one of my Zentangle friends shared the poem that was shared for the first day of February, and I thought I'd share it with you to start. It's by Morgan Harper Nichols, and it is thus. It says, "This is the season. She will make beautiful things, not perfect things, but honest things. They speak to who she is and who she is called to be." So try to remember that if you're working today, about not worrying about perfection, but to let your honest person, which is the imperfect, as we all are, come through. So you're going to need some paper today. I'm like, where did I do? I'm going to be using a Zentangle tile like this, just paper. But if you've got a sketchbook or you have any kind of paper, it will work today. Just make sure it's compatible with whatever you're using. So for example, if you have copy paper, you're not going to want to use watercolor because it'll buckle and you'll be very sad. But if you want to use watercolor, you could use mixed media paper or, of course, watercolor paper, just to give you an idea what you could do. You're going to need a pen, and I've got some Faber-Castell Pitt pens. This is a 0.3, they call it, so it's a really fine pen, but if you have a micron, that's great, or anything that's fine that you have. A big pen, whatever works, will work. I also have a pencil. This is a HB pencil that says Zentangle on it, but any HB pencil will work. I have a tortillon or a blending stump, but if you have your finger, that will also work. We're going to work on with a little bit of color today. I have Tombow markers. So this is very bright in color. I've got green and some blues here. So I'm not using very many. I don't like to get out a whole bunch of different colors, because I get confused very easily. So, the most I'll usually bring out are 5 colors to do any one thing. Just keep that in mind. If you're concerned about color, pick your colors first, see that they, test them out, see that they all work well together and they're happy together. And then just keep those colors without keep going back to your stash. Okay. Take a minute just to sit in your chair and feel the support of the earth that's here for you and really to support you, to support all of us. Really allow yourself to relax into your seat. Maybe take some deep breaths and let them out. Let them out with a sigh, a noise. Nobody can hear you, so do whatever. If you want to just go, ugh. It's February, ugh. Go right ahead. So we're going to start with a pencil, and I'm going to just bring this in a little closer. And using my finger, I'm going to put a dot each corner of my paper. So if you're using a larger piece of paper, you might want to draw a square that's about 4 inches square on your paper to represent the space. You could also make it rectangular. But typically we work on smaller pieces of paper, smaller spaces, and then connect the dots with your pencil. I've got a relatively straight line, but if you want to put loops in it, or you want to put zigzags or waves, whatever you want today is fine. So since we're going through yet another wave, is this wave number 5? I don't know, I've lost count. And life is full of waves all the time. And last week we were at the beach because I thought, okay, let's continue on with this theme of water and waves. So this will be about a third of the way down from the top. I'm going to start doing a wavy line. And you could use your pencil or your pen. Actually, I'm going to switch to my pen. Let me go over that line again. So I'm going to do my pen now. Right over that line, best I can. Then another one. Leave a space. Do another one. And maybe doing one here where it sort of intersects up with this line. So if you have one of these books, they're great. Zentangle Primer Volume 1. And in here, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas, who are the founders of this method of teaching, came up with something called reticula and fragments. So it's isolating little patterns. And here's an example here. And sometimes they mirror the pattern next to it, like that. And then on the next page, they have samples of all the little patterns that you can use. And alternating them, here's one example. You can alternate the fragments, all these things that you can do. So we're going to utilize their lesson in that book today. So I want you to think while you're doing this about waves and maybe a word or a way of being that gets you through waves. We all have something, an anchor, whether it could be your faith, It could be your family. It could be art. It could be the practice of Zentangle or meditation or a daily walk. It could be all sorts of things that help us to move through difficult times. So maybe think about that word or that action or whatever it is that helps you move through. And maybe you haven't discovered it yet. Maybe it's still to come for you. And this time, what we're in is helping you discover that thing that you have within you that keeps you going. And sometimes it doesn't have a word associated with it. It's just intrinsic and it just is there. So you might want to think about that as we're going today. So I'm going to start at the top here. I'm going to divide this space into little boxes. So this box is about a finger's width. Fingers are good for measurement because they tend not to change in the course of doing something. They change over time, but while you're doing this, they tend not to change. So that's always a good thing. As I say, the rule of thumb, well, in this case, it's the rule of finger. I'm going to do one little short one right there. And then we'll just start with a very easy one. So we're going to bisect this square, this box, the diagonal line, and below it the same. And notice two things. Notice how slowly I'm going. If you want to slow down, move slowly. Walk slowly, talk slower, move your pen more slowly. And then we're going to do the same over here on the side, but in the other direction. So do one side, then we'll come and do the other side. And then I'm going to take this, I could do it this way again. So I'll give you an option. You can do it the same way again on this next box, or you can mirror, which is what I'm doing, the same pattern that we just did. Then I'm going to do the same thing again. So by repeating, repetition is very calming. Doing the same thing over and over with our hands is very calming. So there I have a mirror of what I just did. And then I'm going to start again and do one just like over here. And if you have another pattern, you think, oh, this would be really good instead of what I'm doing, you go right ahead and feel free to do that. Now see how I'm going to line up these lines. So these lines are going to join together with the previous line. Continue on here. As a friend of mine, another artist friend of mine says, if you can't figure out what to do, start with a line. And it's so true. Just start with a line anywhere. and things will start flowing again. So if you get stuck, try to remember to start with a line.
Loretta, I heard a quote from, I think it's Paul Klee. It's take the line for a walk.
Ah, it's a good one.
I'll put it in the chat if to correct it and make sure I know what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Okay, thank you. And since I think we are all kind of mirrors for so many things, doing this mirroring is a good reminder about how we mirror each other. So you may have something like this, or it may look different, but that's okay. That's all right. Whatever is here today for you is your own individual expression. I'm gonna have to eeny, meeny, miny these ones sometimes because there's so many. But we're going to, I could carry on and take this line right down here, but I'm gonna offset it a little bit, just for interest's sake. Just offset it to the right. Again, divide it up, dividing my space up. And in the middle, roughly, I'm going to draw a little circle. And come off and go to the corner here, just like a pinwheel. Or an iris. And within here, I can just black in the center if I wish, and just leave a little bit of white, a little shine right there. And we'll do the next one. Encourage you to go slowly again. And to remember to breathe. If you need to put your pen down and take a breath, that's okay. Whoops, kind of missed the corner there. That's all right. I'm going with it. Just go with it. So I did. I kind of went off the corner there and I've thickened my line here. So what I can do, so they look uniform, is just go back to each one and give them a little thickness there. So already we've made another element just out of a little miscalculation of the pen. So I can do the same here. I can go back to these ones. That's what I love about this. You can do a lot of correcting, which creates something new. So much ingenuity is a result of miscalculation. carry on over here to this one. It's gonna shut off my heater here because I'm getting too hot and it's making a lot of noise. There we go. Okay, that's better. Just make sure, if you can, that your curves go in the same direction. But if they don't, it's all right. So if you Google Zentangle fragments, you will see a lot of them and a lot of examples that you can try. So we've got a partial one here, partial one there. And try to keep your shoulders relaxed if you can. Okay. Now here, I'm going to leave a space and you can either fill it in later with the design or you can put in a word here, whatever word you've been thinking of that gets you through turbulent times. Or action. Maybe there's an action, like I said, walking or meditating or something that gets you through these waves of life. Okay, so then I'm going to start and do little ones down here, just little tiny guys. I'm going to just bisect this space right here. Teeny tiny little space. And I'm going to do another diagonal line like we did up here. And another line coming up here like this. And another C shape coming down there. Another line right there. And another line like this. So it kind of looks almost like a kite shape. Then we're going to mirror these lines or aura these lines coming off. And you can do it this way again, or you could do it this way. So I'm going to try it this way. Bisecting line coming through. In this kite kind of shape. And now aura this line. And you can turn your tile around, right? I'm just telling myself I can turn the paper. You can turn the paper so that it's towards yourself. So you're drawing towards yourself. It's a lot easier than drawing uphill. Do another one this way. And you might run out of space in here, but that's okay. Do what you can. It's getting very tiny. So really tiny here. So I'm going to switch. Maybe start just do some orbs in here. And maybe a double line there. Into infinity and beyond. Okay. And then we'll do one final one here. Oops. Hold on. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to bisect the space. I'm going to start here because it's quite large. I'm going to start on the right hand side over here. And have these little slightly curved lines, but diminishing as they get to the edge. And then going over them again and slightly rounding the ends of them. Almost looks like a hand. I'm doing the same over here in each corner. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a little aura on the inside of this one in a diamond shape. And the aura again. And then do a little orb in the center. Again, I'm going to black it in and that. So none of these are really difficult to do, but they are designed to be very relaxing to do, just very easy and simple. Doesn't require a lot of brain power. And check in. Are you breathing differently than when you started? Maybe your breath is a little deeper. Do you feel more relaxed? Because that's the real purpose of what we're doing. yes, we have a lovely piece of artwork that's interesting to look at and admire at the end, but really it's about creating relaxed focus. So creating through moving our hands in this repetitive fashion, we're relaxing our whole being. I'm just going to do a little one over here too. And I don't know if anybody else notices this, but I notice it. So back in the day when I used to fly a lot, remember those days, in the airports and on the plane, I would get out my sketchbook and do some tangling and help to relax, about travel stress. Even though you travel a lot, most people still experience it because, there's so many variables that can happen when you fly. But what I noticed was that the people around me, wherever I was, would start to relax. You could just see it. Their faces would start to relax. Their shoulders would relax. You could just see it. So we really do create, by creating relaxation within and peace within, it's like a ripple effect. People pick it up. The skin is, what did somebody say recently? The skin is a barrier, but it's also permeable. Well, same with how we are with each other, our energy with each other. It's very, very fluid and very influential towards us and beyond us. So you might have space in another one, but I'm going to do my orb thing again. I'm just going to do some bars here. And put some nice fat little peas in there. Well, you can go in and you can do a little shading. So I'll give you a sample of that and then some coloring. So if you want to do a little shading with this guy over here, where the lines go in and under, you could do a little shading in there. And then where they meet in the center, and if you don't know this already, Zentangle, by doing a few minutes of this, is a perfect adjunct to meditation. So it helps to slow the mind and the thoughts, the endless thoughts that we have. I'm going to shade up here. And then afterwards to engage in a little meditation is lovely. Sort of like the icing on the cake. So it changes it completely. It's really a simple design, but when you add a little bit of shading, you've got a completely different experience, different look. So there's an example that you can use to shade it. It gives it that three-dimensional look. So you've got some pillowy softness happening. And then if you want to add some color, I've chose some blues and greens here. Now I purposely chose colors that were transparent. So let me just get a piece of paper here without spilling my tea. That's where it went. Okay, so you want to determine what's transparent. You'll want to get out a piece of paper. You want to like draw a line. A second, I'll have to dry that off now. Dry it off. Okay. Take your marker, if you have a marker, and go over that line and see if you can see it. So you know you can see that line really well, that's a transparent color. If it covered it right up, it would be opaque. And I don't want to use opaque over top of these tangles or I won't see the black lines. I'll have to go over again. This one is a little darker and a little more opaque, but you can still see the line. And this one, lighter and more transparent. And this one, very transparent. So just do a little test before you embark on adding some color to make sure you're not covering up what you did. One of the colors that is very dark, well, dark blue would probably not be a good idea, and any kind of dark violet or purple, because that definitely would cover it up, or dark red as well. Okay, so I've got this blue. I'm gonna go, I've got a little bit of graphite there, I'll get rid of that. Okay, and I'm just going to go in with my Tombow marker and just color in this space, just using little circles. I've got a brush tip here. And same with below here. And then I'll put another color here. Take this darker blue, darker turquoise. Put a name on it. 373 is the number though, if you're interested. Then what I'm going to do is go back and take this blue. So I'm not going to make it each the same. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. And maybe you keep this, you know, as a reminder of what sustains you, what words or actions sustains you in hard times. Or maybe you give it away, maybe you abandon it, like art abandonment, for somebody else to find, to give somebody else a lift. We're in it together. We were talking when I was snowshoeing yesterday with my friends, and one of the things that reminded me as we were together when we were kids, we loved the Three Musketeers, and we would always say, the sisters and I, all for one and one for all. And my parents really drove that home for us as well, that we would always be for each other no matter what. And I think this is something that we are learning. yet again what that means, how important it is that we are for each other and not against each other. Let's do this since I got this one out. I want to do this one over here. Okay, so quickly, I have my appointment in a few minutes, do a little, you can do some shading over top of your marker. You could also use a gray colored pencil to do this. But it just helps to sort of give it a new kind of depth. So there you have it. There is a jumping off point for you. Have fun with fragments and reticula. Look them up on the internet and keep well, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining me.